Good morning. Hmm. Interesting space I'm in. The title for today is Reclaiming Our Latent Powers. This was the blurb that I wrote for my meeting this past Wednesday. Quote, for me personally, the last several weeks have been a time of great introspection. Many of my cherished beliefs have come under intense scrutiny as I ask myself the question, why aren't things working the way I'd like them to work? Challenging situation has followed challenging situation for me. Within the past several hours, and I'm writing this at 7:45 a.m. on Monday morning, I feel I've had a breakthrough that seems to involve an awakening of latent powers. I'd be honored to have my friends join me for discussion of what I've experienced and what you are experiencing during this time of global awakening of human consciousness. End quote. I'm in a different emotional space this morning, yet I still want to share that experience with you. And I include the links to two videos that I'll mention in my talk with you. Let me say that I woke up 2 hours ago, give or take a minute or two, and I've been out of bed since before 3 o'clock. I almost was going to do the video at 3:33, but I decided to wait the extra hour and 11 minutes. I went and watched a video last night called Bitter 70, I believe, or something like that, in which I ran into a couple of my Facebook friends, neither of whom have ever watched any of my videos, which was disappointing. And it was also disappointing that on Wednesday night, no one showed up except Margie. And Margie was the only person with whom I had shared the experience that happened on Sunday/Monday. She's the only one that knew about what I'm going to share with you this morning. And she's the only one that came. So it was a conversation for 2 hours between the two of us, which was disheartening for me. But like I said, I went to that thing last night. Two of my Facebook friends who have been friends, one of them is actually a friend long before Facebook came into the picture, and never has watched any of my videos. Neither did this other lady who has been my friend for a good while, and I've had communication with her recently. Wished her a happy birthday, in fact, not very long ago. In any case, the local community, by far and large, I still feel, gives me very little support for all the support that I've given them over the years. But be that as it may, what happened on Sunday late morning was I was out cleaning the atrium and hosing things down. I had cleaned out the ashes from the fireplace and was just hosing things down, and I lost water pressure. I mean, it just, all of a sudden, I wasn't getting any water pressure. I went and checked the water closet, and the pressure was not very good, and the pump was running, and it wasn't shutting off. Now, for those of you that remember, a couple months ago, I had a similar situation where they thought the well had collapsed, and in fact, it was the pipe going from the wellhead into the house that for something had collapsed in there, and it was underneath the concrete of the driveway and the garage. In any case, we replaced that pipe, and the well was working fine. But now all of a sudden, the same symptom, losing pressure, happened again. Well, I ended up unplugging the pump, going back an hour or two later, plugging it back in, trying again. I did that 2 or 3 times over a space of maybe 4 or 5, maybe even 6 hours. I don't know exactly the time that it started. But over the course of the entire afternoon, I kept trying to see if the pump would build enough pressure to provide water for my house. Had the well pipe finally collapsed? Now, as I said in the blurb, that's just another challenging situation for me. And I went into meditation and I usually meditate in silence, but I had Jackie Ivanko playing in the background as I'm meditating. And I get the thing, you have the ability to fix this. A thought, it's a thought, that's what it is. You could say it's a message, but it's just a thought, coming in the form of a message maybe, but okay, I have the power to correct it. How? And so I began to just follow the thought process. That's why I don't believe in meditation as quieting the mind. I believe it's paying attention to the mind. It's mindful meditation, not mindless meditation. Following the train of thought of visualizing the elements in the pipe coming up from the well to the wellhead, and I'm calling the top the wellhead. Maybe that's not the correct term, but that's what I call it. In any case, I'm visualizing the pipe as it was intended to function, and I'm talking to the elements, to the metals, that's mostly iron, in the pipe. It's galvanized steel, is what I was told that the type of pipe was. And I'm talking to that pipe. And I'm visualizing it doing what it was intended to do, bring water from the aquifer up and into my house, ultimately. And I'm visualizing that. As I'm crying, listening to Jackie Ivanko, and meditating and feeling, God, why can't I manifest a reality that serves me? And I was brought to the consciousness of Anastasia, who said, all creation is made to serve man. If it's made to serve man, it's made to serve life. And we have been living in an environment where our belief systems serve death. Literally. I mean, literally, it serves death. And we don't believe we have power. We believe that we are pretty much victims. And I have felt that way. And I have shared that openly, that that's how I have felt. And I was feeling that way again. But I'm visualizing now the elements listening to me and serving me according to what I'm telling them to do. I'm telling them to be restructured so that if there indeed is a collapse in that pipe, that it heal itself, that it fix itself, that it comes back into organic unity. And you say that's inorganic material. No, there's no such thing as inorganic. Well, maybe there's such a thing as inorganic, but it's still living. It's conscious matter. Because everything that exists in the universe, to me, is conscious. Nothing is unconscious. Everything has consciousness. Everything. And everything responds to love and to other emotions. Dr. Emoto's water experiments bear that out. And there are probably other things as well. In any case, I'm visualizing the pipe well, but I didn't turn it on. I go to bed. I don't know what time I went to bed that night, 9:30, 10 o'clock maybe. And I'm wide awake just past 11:30. I have to go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom and I'm thinking now the water's shut off. The pump is unplugged. Well, I want to flush the toilet. So I go out into the water closet and I plug it in, and then I go back and I flush my toilet, and I actually lift the top off the tank, off the tank in the back of the toilet, and the water's filling up at what I would think to be a normal speed. It fills up, completes the flush. I go back out to the water closet. The pump has built up to close to 60 pounds, which is, I think, the operating pressure. And when it reached the 60 pounds, it shut off. It got up to the normal pressure and functioned the way it's supposed to function. Now, when it wasn't functioning and it's trying to build the pressure to the pressure set point, it just keeps running. It just keeps running. It doesn't shut off, and it eventually overheats, and it'll eventually burn the pump out if you let it keep running that way. It's trying to build the pressure up, and it's not getting the water flow to build the pressure. Anyway, it shut off. I went back inside, and for an hour I was absolutely in an elated form of just, wow. I got an answered prayer immediately. I was able to actually repair the pipe, which to me, that's the only explanation I knew as to why I wasn't getting pressure. I didn't do anything but what I've just shared with you. I didn't do anything. I was thinking, of course, when it was out, I'm going to have to now spend $1,500 getting a new well drilled. And I just had helped my daughter purchase a vehicle. And of course, you all know the story about the lady from Canada. And so my funds were not where I'd like them to be. I don't have a lot of money. And here another $1,500 might have to be put out, and maybe more for other things on top of the drilling of the well. In any case, none of that happened. Somehow I was able to co-create this, and that put me into a lot of mind processes. And I watched two videos that really triggered a lot more thought. One is Ken Rohla, Rohla, How to Neutralize Radiation and Chemtrails. And the other was The Exploding Autoimmune Epidemic with Dr. Tent, who says that these things are viruses put in our bodies on purpose through vaccinations and other means, and that cancer and autoimmune diseases are actually caused on purpose, by our pharmaceutical industry and by our insane government leaders and government officials who are anti-life and are trying to do everything in their power to control us and to keep the awakening from happening. Both of those videos, and I have the links for them in the blurb, both of those videos indicated to me something that we can actually do. We don't need what Ken Rohla says is he has all these materials that produce change. Well, we can produce change by ourselves. We are the technology. If we can only accept the fact that our latent gifts have been buried and that we allow them to wake up so that we can talk to our bodies, the viruses, the rust, the decay. We can talk to these things and totally reverse it if we allow ourselves to tap into our own latent powers and abilities. They are there, they are in us. I was absolutely certain. Now it's interesting because Wednesday, late morning, early afternoon sometime, I was in this wonderful space up until approximately that time period. And somebody posted, or actually sent me first and then posted it on my Facebook wall, the same, it was an Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks video on the central teachings of Abraham. And I got about a minute and a half or two into it, and it said, we are not here to fix the world. There's nothing to fix. The world isn't broken. I shut it off, and it totally changed and shifted. I mean, I was angry. I mean, I went from a place of this elation that I had been in for 2.5 days, and I'm now feeling anger at this encroachment on this thing that keeps us bound and limited in our belief system, that we're not here to fix anything. We're not even here to recognize the negative. We're not even here to acknowledge the cancer in our world and the decay and the corruption and everything else that makes the world work poorly and makes our lives so problematic, because we think we're powerless, and that keeps us powerless. You're not here to fix anything. Don't focus on what you don't want. Don't look at what needs to be repaired and healed. Don't look at that. And so you can tell I'm getting angry just thinking about that. And then, of course, nobody shows up, and I end up talking with Margie. I get angry. Then I watched the movie last night, Bitter 70. And I watch more of the injustice, and I talk to 2 of my local friends, and neither one of them has ever watched a single one of my videos. Not a single one. And I wonder, how's the world going to change when we think we're powerless, when we don't even acknowledge the problem? When I tried to talk to people last night at that meeting, I mean, when I explained to them, they all agree that the government is corrupt. And when I mentioned that it's the financial system that's at the root of it all, it's the fraudulent banks that own the government and cause all the corruption, their eyes glaze over, and it's like I'm not reaching anybody. They're not hearing me. It doesn't make sense. The banks don't loan money. What do you mean the banks don't loan money? Folks, here's the bottom line for today's message. We have powers and abilities to change the situation that we find ourselves in. One of the things that Ken Rolla said, which I totally agree with, a problem never comes in to our consciousness without its own solution. Never. All the pollution, the global warming, all these things, we have the power to change. The elements and all life is here to serve us, if we will only get out of our own way and stop thinking in terms of our limitations and our impossibilities, and start possibility thinking, reclaiming the latent powers of our soul, of our bodies, of our minds, of our emotions, of our being. Reclaiming those powers, they belong to us. And when we reclaim them, no one and nothing can stop the world that we will create together that works for everyone, and that there will be peace on earth and truth and justice for all. Thank you for listening. Namaste.